So today I would like to talk about a phenomenon that I believe illustrates very well a few concepts from the freedom model for addictions. So that phenomenon that I want to talk about today is the post-nut clarity, right? This feeling you get after the ejaculation, that you're viewing the porn in a completely different way than you were a few seconds before coming. And you might even think, why am I even watching this, right? So I believe that this phenomenon illustrates a key concept of the freedom model, as I said, that I am going to talk about. But first I want to quickly talk about the biological explanation of this phenomenon of the post-nut clarity, right? Because within biology, with the theory of evolution, like this idea that you're driven towards PMO and sex because of this subconscious need to reproduce, right? So according to biology, basically you would instantly lose your drive for the porn right after coming, because that's it, you have no biological need for finding the porn attractive anymore, right? So this would be the biological explanation. However, as I said in one or two previous videos, I am more and more questioning the belief that what's driving us to PMO is biological. It might be biological to a tiny extent, I'm not quite sure yet, but for a big part, I believe, as it is argued in the freedom model for addictions, that we go towards the PMO for reasons, beliefs that we have. For instance, if I have a foot fetish, is it really because my biology has been corrupted and now I believe that through licking a foot I'm gonna reproduce? Or is it rather that I have associated feet with being a bit dirty, and I also associate sex with being a bit dirty and taboo, and so this mix of ideas is making the attraction, you know? So I believe that if we set aside the biological theory, right, which might play a tiny role, I don't know yet, but if we focus on the fact that we are making PMO magical ourselves with our mind. So I feel like the post-nut clarity phenomenon clearly illustrates that, because as long as you come, as long as you don't have anymore this physical tickling, as they say, so, you know, they also say how it's happening with alcohol, right? You drink alcohol, the objective effect of drinking alcohol is your heartbeat rises, you maybe feel more hot, and you have less control over your body, right? You're slower. That's the objective, right? What's subjective is all the fantasy, right? So same for PMO, right? What's objective is maybe, yes, your heartbeat also accelerates a little bit, some blood goes into your private parts, and you're erect, and you know, and also when you come, you really, like, you can tell, like, oh, I'm coming now, I feel it. Like, this is physical, this is happening, this is objective. But the magical aspect of it, it's you with your fantasy that's doing it, right? At least according to the freedom model, right? And so when you come, that's it, you're done with the physical tickling, as they say, that you're putting all this fantasy around. And so since the physical tickling is not there anymore, you have come, you have finished, then you do not want to use your fantasy power on the video anymore, and you're seeing it for what it is, a kind of dumb video that you might even find stupid, disgusting, or just uninteresting when you look at it for what it is, without all the fantasy that you put on it while you're in your PMO session, right? So again, to summarize, the post-nut clarity illustrates this freedom model notion that any addictive, quote-unquote, addictive behavior has this, as they say, this active placebo, basically just this kind of physical objective thing that's happening. But then, coupling this with all this magic, all this pleasure, all this amazing experience, this is you doing it. And the second the physical part is done, you cannot believe in your fantasy anymore. I hope I'm making sense. I hope I'm more or less clear, right? I'm still navigating those ideas and maybe I'm not expressing myself clearly. But again, as they say in the freedom model, the goal is to understand how we are creating the magic with our mind and voluntarily, consciously, freely, right? That the magic is not in the PMO. And I believe that the post-nut clarity phenomenon, when it is not understood through a biological lens, but rather through this mind explanation, kind of, I believe it illustrates the freedom model theory very well. And I hope it can help anyone listening getting a more clear sense of how we are ourselves putting all this magic in the PMO. And as they say in the freedom model, realizing this more clearly and more clearly every time should help us to devalue the PMO, because if we are the one bringing in the magic, then we devalue the PMO experience very much, don't we? So yes, what they say for alcohol basically is also valid with the PMO. There is the physical tickling that we put all this fantasy around, and once the physical tickling stops, we stop fantasizing. Yeah, I hope I made sense.